If I could try harder, I'd be made of stone. And every time I kiss you, I'm breaking all your bones.
As Reason users, we're all aware that the actual process of making music can sometimes impact the results we get just as much as the sounds we might choose. The easier the creative process becomes, the more we can focus on the crucial tasks, like cool melodies, chords, drops, and hooks. And so that's why at Propellerhead, we're always working to make the process more seamless, more intuitive, and more transparent, so that things just work the way you expect them to, helping you move through the music production process as fluidly as possible. With the arrival of Reason 10.2, there's some new workflow features that definitely help that goal. And today, I wanted to walk you through those features and explain what hopefully should be fairly self-explanatory. But let's look at them in action. To check these features out, I've got this song by Tiger Darrow that is a great full arrangement with lush pads, bass elements, vocals, and drums.
And breaking all your bones, breaking all your bones. Every time I kiss you.
This section is particularly full sounding. But if we wanted to add a couple more elements to it, right away we'll notice something new in Reason 10.2. Even though I haven't set up any MIDI controllers in the preferences, if I just plug in a keyboard, Reason automatically detects it. And I can get down to music making without first thinking about remote codecs or MIDI input channels. So okay, let's create a new instrument and add a new part. In the past, I might head to the browser or up to the Create menu, but if I'm already in the rack or the sequencer, I have new buttons that save my mouse that round trip. In the rack, I just click Add Device, and I'll select Europa from my list of frequently used instruments. While I'm recording this part, I don't necessarily want to hear every single vocal overdub, cello texture, or even the lyrics. I'm primarily interested in hearing just these channels, which make up the synth and drum tracks in the production. If I shift-click to select just those mix channels, I can now solo them all at once. The same is of course true if I wanted to mute these channels for the opposite result. But let's solo them and put down another part. To add another instrument to play off this Europa part, I can do that right from the sequencer with the Add Track button. Just like Add Device in the rack, this new button gets me quickly creating new audio tracks or new instruments, like Sonic Charge's Synplant VST. While you're in the sequencer, now double-clicking any device opens up the rack and takes you to its front panel, instantly getting you from tweaking your performances to tweaking your sounds. And in the case of VST plugins, double-clicking a track in the sequencer not only takes you to the VST rack device, but pops up the VST window itself, where we can select a preset on Synplant or make adjustments to the VST. One major new feature of Reason 10.2 is multi-lane editing. So many times in music production, we might want to make adjustments to one musical part while viewing it in the context of other parts happening at the same time. For example, imagine a string arrangement where we have multiple sequencer tracks. If I were to adjust my cello part, I'd want to see how its notes work along with the rest of my strings, which are happening in other lanes. To do this, I can select sequencer clips across multiple tracks, right-click any one of them, and click Edit to view them all at the same time. Now my cello part is visible relative to the full string arrangement. I can even select which track gets the active focus of my editing, going from the cello to the viola, for example. Now back in Tiger Darrow's song, that same technique of viewing the notes of one sequencer lane relative to another can help us make smart production decisions. If I just select the last two synth parts I recorded and go into edit mode, I can see that there's a nice natural interplay between them, where one synth is playing on the downbeats and the other synth is playing largely on the upbeats. There are, however, a couple of places where I naturally played on the downbeat, so now both synths currently sound at the same time. There's nothing specifically wrong with that, but I so like how the synths mostly stay out of each other's way that I can use this multi-lane edit view to pull out a few notes of this synth to eliminate any timing overlaps. Let's shift select our other synths and click solo to hear all these parts together. While I've got these other channels selected at the same time, you'll notice that not only do their mute and solo buttons work in concert with each other, but if I adjust any one of their faders, I can scale all the channels up or down together. This makes mix adjustments across blocks of channels, like all these synth layers or perhaps multiple drum kit microphones, a quick and intuitive process. It's also worth pointing out that multi-lane edit isn't just useful across several instruments or multiple sequencer tracks. We can use it on just one instrument too. All you beatmakers and drum programmers out there, take note here. Look at the red drum track in our sequencer. It's already been programmed so that each drum part has its own lane. We've got a kick lane, a snare lane, and 2 hi-hat lanes, each with their own parts. But when I double-click any clip on any lane, you can see that we're automatically shown our multi-lane edit view, so that I can see the active snare lane, for example, with the other drum lanes visible in the background to help us view the whole beat. If I select one of the other grayed out notes, we automatically switch our focus to the new note lane. In fact, let's enhance this drum part while talking about 3 other new features in Reason 10.2. First of all, I'm going to select a new preference setting for Return to Last Start Position on Stop. This just means that now, whenever I hit stop, my playhead will jump back to the last place I set it. Which makes for a very logical behavior, especially if you're working on a particular section of your song over and over. Before I zoom into this drum part for a closer look, I'm going to change my snap setting from a fixed 8th note value to the new adaptive grid setting. So far not much looks different, but watch as I zoom in. The grid has automatically adapted the snap value in response to my level of zoom, which is perfect if I wanted to, say, replace one of these hi-hat notes with a quick roll instead. And finally, when it comes to mixing drums with more control, in Reason 10.2 we can right-click our individual drum channel outputs and route them to new mix channels. So that's Reason 10.2. Of course, if you want to learn more about Reason from beginner setup to advanced tricks, you can even check out the new tutorial section directly inside Reason. Each of these features have one purpose in mind: to help you work faster, smarter, and more efficiently. And hopefully we've shown you exactly how to do that today. As for us, we're already hard at work on the next round of features for Reason.